Bene Fano and welcome. My name's Howard and this is Gardening on the Kaipara. Welcome. And it's June into the winter months. But as you can see, things are looking pretty good here today. It's been a wet month so far, quite a few storms coming through, and so not a lot of work's being done outside. Things that need to get done, I need to put some roses into the new bed. So we want to go and get some new standard roses so that it matches the other bed out the front. We also need to sow a load of things and weed a load of things. So yes, quite a lot of things to do. One of the great things about June is it's Matariki, one of my favourite days of the year, shortest day of the year, which means that we've turned the corner and we're heading back towards the summer, which always makes me feel good. Not that I can complain too much about winters here. Quite a few things to get sown. I want to start actually prepping some of the summer things. So for instance, I want to try and get some peppers underway because they seem to take quite a long time. I'm also thinking about getting a load of flowers going because I want to kind of stagger how I'm going to be doing the seeds. I want to get the flowers out of the way so I've got plenty of room for all the veggies. Last year I found that things got quite complex in this polytunnel with all of the tomatoes, all of the veggies, all the beans and the flowers and everything else, and I didn't really have the space and it didn't really work out that well. So this time I'm trying to stagger it so I get most of the plants and some things like the peppers out of the way first, and then I've got room to do things like the beans that I want to get in quite early this year, figuring that they'll be done by Christmas, and then the tomatoes after that. So that's my plan. It sounds great in my head. Probably, as we know, these things never work out in practicality. So there we go. Anyway, as usual, can't stand here yakking all day. So let's get on with it. Okay, so I'm going to put some more seeds into the carrot bed. I pulled all the previous ones out that were left. There's still quite a good little haul there, which I've processed and popped into the freezer. But I want to get the next lot underway. Still got 2 rows on the other side that are coming along quite nicely. But I want to try and get as many in as possible. I've got a couple more rows going on in other beds, but this is my proper carrot bed and kind of the main area for growing my carrots. I'm going to get 3 rows in here. I did pop another bag of compost in here just to top it up a little bit. So up till now I've never really been that worried about what particular variety I've been sowing, really more about what was available. But in this case I've gone for one called Top Weight Improved, that it lives up to its name, because I've been doing quite well with carrots in terms of getting them to grow. But I think, as I said before, this isn't a hobby. This is to keep us going in our retirement here, and so productivity is important. Now we've had so much rain that I'm not going to put the watering can over the top of these, but I will be watering them going forward pretty much every day until I see them sprouting. That seems to be the trick for my carrots at the moment. Although, watch this space. Okay, so the radish proved to be really good, and so I'm going to pop in 4 rows again here. See where they were before, and they're so quick. I figure I'll probably get this and maybe another crop out of here before I want to free it up for strawberries. Okay, so here we are with the Optimism Special, trying to plant seeds again, still having no joy with this. However, if there's one drop of consolation in this, then sorry, just checking the mic there. So if there is one consolation in any of this depression that is the sowing of the seeds at the moment, my lovely mate Phil, who I caught up with down in Auckland the other day, was telling me that he also was having real problems with germinating seed, and I consider Phil to be a bit of a green thumb myself. He actually grows by hydroponics, which is a really interesting way of growing, the complete opposite really of the way that I grow. So I'm quite interested in maybe taking you down there one day and showing you how he does things, because it's really interesting, and he seems to be able to get seeds growing without a shadow of a problem. So if he's struggling, then there's hope for all of us. So these are calendula, garden staple for most allotments in England. Certainly a very popular thing to grow. Never grown them before myself, so I wanted to give them a try. I've also already done some spring onions again, and some zinnias, and some lettuce. And my plan with these is I'm going to try and start them off in the garage, which is not the warmest place, but not the coldest place. It actually warms up quite a bit when the sun's out, because the sun hits the garage door and that heats up the garage. But it doesn't get to the same temperatures as the polytunnel. And what I'm thinking is I'll start them off there to actually get them to be growing, and then bring them up here as soon as I see them having a bit of life, and see whether that gives me any more success than what I'm currently having, which is, I think, reasonable to say, extremely hit and miss. So that's my plan, to see whether that makes any difference. Okay, so that's a tray to go down to the garage. I've also got some others here, some sweet peas. I'm going to give them another try, but I'm going to nick them. Just put a little cut on the side of them, see if that makes a difference. I'm also wondering whether they should be soaked for 24 hours, which is what I'm going to do with the peppers that I've also set aside. And then I've got some cornflowers here, which I'm going to pop into the freezer for 24 hours, because they're one of the ones that I know needs to have that happen to them. So that's the plan. Anyway, let's get these down to the garage. Okay, Farno, so I'd like to say it's the end of the month, but it's actually a bit beyond that. We've had a big storm come through, and with that we've had to just delay everything because it's been too wet to even get outside. It's just been chucking down with rain all the time. We've got a brief break in the weather for the minute, and so I thought I'd nip out and get the plot tour done while I can. It's still very, very wet out there, got my wellies on. But anyway, let's try and get out there before the next lot of rain and wind comes in. First things first though, I think we'll start here in the polytunnel because there's some exciting things happening here. Obviously the tomatoes are becoming triffids. We are getting enough tomatoes to see us through each week. Not a huge number, but certainly enough to keep us going, and that's fantastic. That was one of the key goals for the winter, to see if I could do that. I think you can see, I think that's pretty successful. But more importantly, have a look at this. What you see here is seedlings grown from seed by me. Yes, the curse seems to have been broken. The trick to that, starting them off in the garage and then bringing them out here afterwards. However, as always, nothing is ever plain sailing. We've got a snail problem in a big way. So I'm trying to get on top of that, but overall very happy with these. These are the first of the flowers, so zinnias and calendula. My plan is to try and get all the flowers up and done before I get the veggies going. It's a cunning plan to try and beat the hot weather in December, January. I might tell you more about that next month. Anyway, time to head outside, and I think we'll start here. The bed of shame is no longer a bed of shame. Got some big plans for this, which might involve moving the pineapples, but again, that's all part of the grand plan for next year. I've been giving that quite a bit of thought while the rain's been coming through. You can see the rhubarb doing all right. And onto the big bed on the other side of the polytunnel. The rosemary, which was rescued from the bargain bin of a garden centre, is now already beginning to take off, which is very, very encouraging. The second lot of broad beans here, as you can see, getting established now, getting going. And further down, lettuce is looking outstanding. We've had a good few crops of this. I'm just doing a cut and come again, and they are really good. The rose giving us some beautiful flowers. All of our roses have been flowering, despite the fact it's midwinter. Not quite sure I understand that, but I'm going to take it as a win. I'll show you some of the others a bit later. But yeah, these lettuce, just a picture, so pretty. Moving up to the second bed, we've got the mange too. It's looking really good. Should get the first harvest off that tomorrow. And along the sides, the coriander beginning to go to seed. I took a big crop of that off the other day and processed it, so we should be good for coriander for a good while. And moving up to the top bed, cauliflowers beginning to get established now. I've took the broccoli out. I didn't think I was going to get much more off it, and it's probably better to free up the soil and get some more in. Beetroot down the side beginning to come along, as do the carrots. Okay, so the next set of beds, we've got the onions. This is the first bed of onions. It was planted a bit earlier and looking really good. Really pleased with the way these are going, and also very pleased with the way that the chives down the sides are going. We love chives, we use them a lot, and we always run out. So I'm pleased that these seem like we're going to get a good little harvest off them. Beyond the garlic, as you can see, I think all but one came up, so that's a pretty good success rate, and they're looking fine. And the top bed, second lot of peas, struggled to get going. I think it's just been that bit colder, so they've not really done so well, and also They're a bit nearer the edge, and I think that means that the slugs and the snails get to them a bit more. The ever-continuing bed of the silver beet we use for us and the chickens. Just the crop that keeps on giving. And beyond that, the Cavallonero, the new heroes of the winter. Man, we love this. Never had it before, but wow, we really, really like it. And in the front, just down there, 6 bok choy, coming along nicely. Just on the edge here, that's Italian parsley that we had there last summer and was going to seed. And I've just left that little patch to grow rather than having to regrow it. So moving along to the next 3 beds, the tomato bed. As you can see, it's doing quite well in terms of growth. Not getting an awful lot of tomatoes off it compared with those in the polytunnel. But I'm quite interested to see what happens in the early spring, whether they really start to produce and worth their while in keeping them. Always a learning curve, and this is kind of trying to work out what's the best way of having tomatoes through the year. Beyond that, the second onion bed, as you can see, getting nicely established, not quite as good as the first bed yet, but yeah, happy with the way that's going. And the top bed, the beetroot and the carrots doing reasonably well. But I think we need to just admire the cabbages. Look at that, how fantastic are they? Absolute fantastic. We've had a couple of them and they've been brilliant. Can't tell you how pleased I am with those. And so to the next lot of beds, and these are the strawberry beds that have been prepped out, ready for the spring and summer. I don't know if you can see there, but they've already got loads of flowers on, particularly those ones down there. Loads of flowers. Not had any runners off them, which was a bit disappointing. So I've had to top them up a little bit where ones didn't make it. But overall, weeded, ready for the summer. Hoping for a bumper crop this year. We did pretty good last year, but this year I want to make jam, so we need a decent amount. Asparagus bed. No signs of any asparagus coming through yet, which I think is a good thing, because up to now it's been a bit confused about the seasons. So this year is supposed to be the first year that I can pick the asparagus, so yeah, fingers crossed for that. And then up to the top, and another of the heroes, the broad beans, looking absolutely brilliant. When it has been sunny, the bees have been around the beans so much, so really hoping that we're going to get a good crop off these. We've had quite a, oh, you can see, I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but there's already a couple of bees swarming around here. See at least 2 or 3, and then up to the top 2 beds, the carrot bed. I did 3 rows of carrots into here and nothing germinated, so I was feeling a bit despondent about that. But then today I just noticed they're just beginning to come through now, so that's good. And beyond, this is going to be a strawberry bed, so it's a bit in transition at the moment with some strawberry plants interplanted in between. But we've got spinach at the top, fresh sowing of radish, and the celery. What I'm probably going to do is shift the celery and the spinach out to other beds, just so I can get this prepped up for the 3rd strawberry bed. So there we go, Fano. Despite it being the middle of winter, the veggie garden is looking pretty full and productive, and that makes me very happy. Always room for improvement, but definitely getting there. And so moving along to the next big project, and this fence is now fully painted. Looks really smart. Thanks to our old neighbours for the generous donation of these fences. They've come out really well. I'm so pleased with them. It's going to be great. Next month, getting on with the flooring. Moving up to the beds at the front of the house, and look at these roses. Midwinter, and we've had a beautiful flush of flowers come from them. I think you can see underneath it, I've tidied up the lavender, trimmed it all back quite hard. That stops it going too woody. And also we've replaced the one that was broken down in the previous storm, and you can already see that it's beginning to spring back into life. And then when we move to the new bed that we've just made, you can see also that these roses are also springing into life, so that's really exciting. Okay, so over there you can see that the next lot of rain is just beginning to move in. It's just about to hit the water from over the hills there. So I'll just do a panoramic shot, if you will, of the orchard. As you can see, they've all been trimmed down now. I've also managed to get some collars to go around, and that makes the strimming of them much easier. Still got one to put on the peach tree over there. The chickens, not really liking the wet weather, but otherwise doing okay. You can see how wet it is still down there. Essentially all the water drains down this way and over to the end there, but it does drain pretty quickly. Within a couple of days this will all be dry again. But yeah, all the trees are pretty much sleeping for the winter now, except the apple tree. Just a quick watch of the chickens, because they're always good fun to watch. So there we go, Fano. That's the end of the plot tour. That's the end of June. We're into winter. Next month, some exciting things happening. Carrying on working on the sitting area, and seeds coming now that I feel confident about getting them growing again, and fruit trees. The next lot are coming. Very excited about that. So I'll see you next time. In the meantime, take care. Harbour. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.